There were a bunch of debates since our last show on the Democratic side. There was a debate on the Republican side. We don't need to get into all of the minutia. The big thing I got from it was this moment where Republican presidential candidate Marco Rubio, he seemed to sort of have like a malfunction. If you think of the Marco Rubio robot, he seemed to have a big malfunction where he was stuck on repeat and he repeated the same line 3 or 4 times. He was in a sort of talking point coma, and he was destroyed by New Jersey Governor Chris Christie. There was a conversation where Chris Christie pushed back against Marco Rubio saying, listen, Marco, you just vote on stuff in the Senate or you don't. I actually ran a state and I was an administrator and I know how to get stuff done. Now, this is a debate that goes on between governors and senators all the time, but Marco Rubio really got destroyed here. Let's look at the first clip here. This is Marco Rubio's first answer where he repeats this talking point about the notion that President Obama doesn't know what he's doing. And then I will play for you immediately Chris Christie's brutal takedown of Marco Rubio. Take a look.
And let's dispel once and for all with this fiction that Barack Obama doesn't know what he's doing. He knows exactly what he's doing. Barack Obama is undertaking a systematic effort to change this country, to make America more like the rest of the world.
Okay, and then we can continue, Lewis, because I think we had as part of that clip Christie's answer, right?
The fact is, Marco, you shouldn't compare yourself to Joe Biden, and you shouldn't say that that's what we're doing. Here's exactly what we're doing. You have not been involved in a consequential decision where you had to be held accountable. You just simply haven't. And the fact is, when you talk about Hezbollah Sanctions Act that you list as one of your accomplishments and just did, you weren't even there to vote for it. That's not leadership, that's truancy.
So just a brutal takedown there. So now it goes back to Marco Rubio, and you think, oh, he's going to come up with something, right? He's going to come up with some way to get himself back propped up. No, he just repeats the exact same answer again.
We don't need to add to it by electing someone who has experience at running up and destroying the credit rating of his state. But I would add this. Let's dispel with this fiction that Barack Obama doesn't know what he's doing. He knows exactly what he's doing. He is trying to change this country. He wants America to become more like the rest of the world. We don't want to be like the rest of the world. We want to be the United States of America. And when I'm elected president, this will become once again the single greatest nation in the history of the world, not the disaster Barack Obama has imposed upon us.
Senator Rubio, thank you. I do want to bring in Governor Bush on this.
Hold on
because you've made this.
Excuse me.
If you'd like to respond to economic...
I think he directly mentioned me in my record in there, so I think I get a chance to respond. You see, everybody, I want the people at home to think about this. That's what Washington, D.C. does. The drive-by shot at the beginning with incorrect and incomplete information, and then the memorized 25-second speech that is exactly what his advisors gave him. See, Marco, the thing is this. When you're president of the United States, when you're a governor of a state, the memorized 30-second speech where you talk about how great America is at the end of it doesn't solve one problem for one person.
Lewis, brutal takedown. What is wrong with Marco Rubio just repeating the same thing about Obama, and then Chris Christie absolutely just flattening him? And this is not a joke about Chris Christie or anything like that. Just flattening the rhetoric from Marco Rubio here, making him look really bad.
You don't see that very often. I mean, you see talking points recited in different ways.
Right.
That's very common. But I mean, word for word.
Yeah.
Incredible.
And it doesn't stop there.
Yeah.
So now it goes back to Rubio. Rubio finally, right, he's going to get a chance to say something else and really push back against Chris Christie. No, he said the same thing again.
Got hit by a massive snowstorm 2 weeks ago. You didn't even want to go back. They had to shame you into going back. And then you stayed there for 36 hours, and then he left and came back to campaign. See, those are the facts. Here's the bottom line. This notion that Barack Obama doesn't know what he's doing is just not
true.
There it is. He knows exactly what he's doing.
The memorized 25-second speech.
Well, that's the reason why this campaign is so important. Because I think this notion, I think this is an important point. We have to understand what we're going through here. We are not facing a president that doesn't know what he's doing. He knows what he is doing. That's why he's done the things he's done. That's why we have a president that passed Obamacare and the stimulus. All this damage he's done to America is deliberate. This is a president that's trying to redefine this country. That's why this election is truly a referendum on our identity as a nation, as a people. Our future is at stake. This election is not about the past.
Yes, he really seemed in over his head here. I mean, Marco Rubio is going to need a fire hose to keep himself hydrated in a debate against Hillary Clinton or Bernie Sanders. Those little sips of water he's finding it necessary to take during Republican debates, he's going to need to be covered. He's going to need to be dumping buckets of water on his head because he really, really looked in over his head here.
Yeah, well, maybe a cold bucket of water might have snapped him out of that coma he was in.
Talking point coma.
And apart from the very strange reciting of this whatever, what is the point of running your entire primary campaign against Obama?
Exactly.
You have a stage full of opponents here.
Exactly.
You're not doing yourself any favors.
And his big criticism, his completely unrelated and repetitive criticism was that President Obama knows exactly what he's doing. I mean, what a scathing critique of President Obama here. Politicians repeat talking points. We're sort of used to this, and there are reasons where it's beneficial. You don't want to get trapped into reasoning that is not good for you, or you want to appear to stay on message. This was Marco Rubio in an almost deer in the headlights way, completely unable to figure out what to do and panicking as Christie just takes shot after shot at him and really embarrassing him and making him look really unqualified to be president, which of course he is. We know that.
Yeah, and so voters now can ask themselves, every time I saw him perform well on stage, was that just something that was memorized, that he executed well, he executed his plan well?
And he's known for appearing the most rehearsed, and I've been saying it since the beginning. Marco Rubio seems the most rehearsed. We'll see if it hurts him in tomorrow's New Hampshire primary. Very, very bizarre. The servos going haywire on the Marco Rubio robot in a spectacular fashion, no question about it. The online news world is getting pretty cluttered with lots of nonsense. There's the so-called news sites that rewrite news articles, and then there's the websites we all know that we just can't trust. So lately, I've been reading Smash Pipe, which is an online magazine whose goal is to surprise, amuse, and tell readers things they don't already know on a wide range of topics in current events and culture. Smash Pipe is less interested in trending topics than in what's actually going on. And Smash Pipe has no ads whatsoever other than the reader-generated classified ad section, and they never will. Smash Pipe is what happens when you, on a bad day, stub your toe on the miseries and mysteries of life. Check it out at